In this tutorial, we will balance two recipes. You can also use the same technique to balance two or more recipes, but what I'll show you now is balancing within one day. Um, when we come up with our Scratchpad module, you'll be able to balance many recipes over many days. Okay, to get started, let's click on the recipes module. Okay, so here we have a number of recipes, and for the purposes of this tutorial, I want to take a recipe which we already have, chicken and rice, and I'm going to break that up into two parts so it will simulate two different meals that by themselves are not balanced, but together they're going to be balanced. And of course, we'll be able to use this the chicken and rice one that's already balanced. Um, we'll be able to use that to compare against the two other unbalanced ones. Okay, so in order to do this, first I want to copy this recipe. So let's just click copy, and I'm going to call it chicken and rice morning because supposedly we're going to feed something in the morning and then we're going to feed something in the um, evening. Okay, so I'll call it chicken and rice in the morning, and I'll call the other one chicken and rice night. So this is spot and copy it. So here we have chicken and rice morning, something that we've just created. So I'm going to balance this recipe and I'm going to get rid of a few different ingredients in it so that we can simulate two different recipes. So here we have it. And you can see that this recipe is pretty close to being perfectly balanced. It's just 5 calories over what Spot needs. It's chicken and rice. And this entire recipe comes out to 1,080 calories, and Spot needs 1,073 calories per day at this moment. He's an adult. Always you can check on the pet info panel, and you get some information about your pet. You can see that Spot now is an adult, female, 20 kilos, um, typical pet activity level, gives you the age, the breed, and he's not on a wait list, or she's not on a wait list program. Okay, weight loss program. So what we're going to do here is get rid of three ingredients. So let's try the chicken ground. We're going to get rid of the bone meal, and let's get rid of the rice as well. Okay, so I'll get rid of the rice first. So we remove it. Are you sure you want to remove the item? Yes. So we've removed it, and you can see that with the removal of that, it's automatically recalculated, and this is what it looks like. And you can see that even with the rice, it looks like it's all balanced. However, it really isn't because we're 100 calories. We need 100 calories per day for Spot. So that's why it's not really balanced. Okay, so we're also going to get rid of the chicken ground. So you've got 240 grams. Let's get rid of this. Okay, you can see now that it's about half of what he needs, or what she needs rather. And let's get rid of the bone meal as well. Get rid of the bone meal. Okay, and you see that now we have we don't have enough zinc. Our calcium's off. The calcium phosphorus ratio is off. And you can see that the linoleic acid to alpha linolenic acid ratio is off. That's in the red area. Okay, everything else looks fine. So I like the way that looks. So that's good. Let's leave that alone. And this is our chicken and rice morning. Okay. So the next thing that we have to do is, in order to balance two meals, we've got to be able to track both meals. So we're going to use the diet tracker module to do this. Now, right now, you have to use the diet tracker module. It's the only one that we have. However, we're coming out with a new one called Scratchpad. And the Scratchpad module will be the preferred way to design your meals. Diet tracker is, you're supposed to just use that for tracking the diet. However, it, it, it's versatile enough to use to design to develop balanced multiple meals. Only for one day though. So the scratch pad will let you do multiple meals over one day or many days, even weeks if you want. Okay, so let's open up the diet tracker and we're going to choose spot. We're going to grab this morning meal and we're just going to I've left clicked it and I'm dragging it over to the 9 o'clock spot. Press OK, and I want to just track this entire meal, which is as fed. So I just press save. So there we have it. Okay, and now what I want to do is, oh, sorry, let me go back here. And now I put it on today's date because it's defaulting to today's date, and I don't want that because that could run into problems later. So what I really want to do is put it on to July 7th. I'm putting it at a date in the future. So this is just for ad hoc design. So let's drag it back here. Recording a meal at 9 o'clock. Yes, on the 7th. And as fed, you can see that in this meal here is 3 ingredients less than the original recipe. And that's what they look like. But we want to keep it on this as fed. So we want to look at the whole recipe. Don't forget, there's another tutorial, Diet Tracker, which explains this. It's very, very powerful, this module, but it's actually really simple to use. But uh, that other video explains that dialogue, which is the most important part of the video. So if you double click, you can get that dialogue back. See, and it just tells us here it's as fed. And so that is doing is recording the entire recipe that we have in this record for this time slot. Okay, so we're going to go back here and we're going to create another recipe. We're going to call it chicken and rice. Oops, chicken and rice, and I'm going to say night because this is going to be our night. We want spot. I'm going to choose spot and we're going to add it here. So we see that we've got chicken and rice spot. So I don't have to put in any other information right now. I just want to balance it. I want to add some ingredients. So we're just going to start adding ingredients. Okay, so if you haven't done this before, when you first create a new recipe, it'll look like this. You can see here these lines here. It's calculated what your pet needs for the minimum and recommended allowance of nutrients that you're. So if you can see these lines here, that's what it is. Okay, so in that other recipe, the chicken and rice recipe, we got rid of the ground chicken, we got rid of the rice, and we got rid of the bone meal. So what I want to do is create a recipe now with those 3 ingredients that we deleted from the other recipe. And then we're going to put those 2 recipes together and we're going to compare it to the actual recipe. So what you're doing, you'll be able to see how those 2 recipes balance out. And that's the purpose of this. So we want to add those ingredients, and I already wrote down the ID of those ingredients. So when you first open up the food search module, you can't search by ID, but if we click on enhanced search, I can now put in the IDs. So 05333, and let's add that ingredient. And here we go. So then we've got chicken, ground, and if you remember from before, it was 240 grams. Okay, so that's part of it. So what happened to that diet tracker module? And we want to balance multiple meals. Okay, so what we do now, I just put that one, and we could put all 3 in and then do this. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to start here after one, but we could have started right away. So I clicked on multiple recipes and you'll notice that it changes a little bit. Okay, so what I want to do is grab that diet tracker recipe that we put in, which is on the 7th. So I click the 7th, and then what I'm going to do is take a look on the left here. You see, you've got multiple recipes, multiple recipes, multiple recipes. Here is multiple recipes. Here is multiple recipes. But you'll notice that these two graphs are current recipe and current recipe. So don't forget that the current recipe is this. Whatever in here is the current recipe. And these graphs only reflect what's in here. So when we're doing the multiple recipes, we want to really look at these graphs here, these ratios, this pie graph, and most importantly, we want to look at this, the nutrient summary in the percentage form. Okay, so we've it, see that it's set here to diet tracking. When we have the Scratchpad module, it will default to that first, so you'll be able to choose either diet tracking or Scratchpad. And later on, we're going to have a meal planner, so you'll also be able to choose that. But right now, it's diet tracker. We selected this date, and then all we have to do is click this button, refresh all of recipes. Okay, so we've refreshed all recipes, and what that has now done is it's taking the recipe that we entered into the diet tracker on July the 7th, and it's now added it here. So we can see that these numbers have changed, the percentages have changed, and we can see that these are the percentages now with the chicken. So don't forget that it's grabbed everything with the chicken, plus it's added the current recipe. That's why it says multiple recipes here. Okay, so if you had put more than one recipe, if you have two or three recipes, it's all on the same date, it would grab all that information and aggregate that information and add it to the current recipe, and it's displayed here. And of course, don't forget that whatever's in here, these graphs, these two graphs here, the crude protein and fat graph, and these detailed nutrient graphs here, uh, are just for this current recipe. So I hope that that's not too confusing. It's actually really simple, but for somebody first starting off, it might be a little bit confusing, but it really, really is simple to do this. Okay, so I just want to add back the rice and the bone meal. So let's go back to the food search, and the rice is 20037. I had already written this down. So we're going to put that in, and the rice was half a cup. So I want to change it from grams to cups. We can see it's almost exactly half a cup, but I'll just change it, press enter. Okay, so the only one left we have now is the bone meal. And the bone meal was U0001. U stands for user defined. And there you have the bone meal, and we had it at 3 teaspoons. So we want to change it to teaspoons. And you can see that 100 grams is equivalent to 37.04 teaspoons, but we want to change that to 3. So we change it to 3, and then everything here gets recalculated. So again, these graphs represent these three ingredients. This graph and all of these graphs here on the right. You notice here that these three ingredients, we don't have enough vitamin A, vitamin D, whatever, because it's only represents these three ingredients. That's what this is tracking. But if you look here, we've taken that one recipe which we put into the diet tracker module, and we've added it to the three missing ingredients, and you can see that everything looks good. Our CAP ratio is fine, and you can see here that that our pet Spot needs a 1,773, and it's we have just 5 over, right? 5 calories over. So this is a balance now, and this is two different recipes. Now, of course, you can again do some ad hoc design here, and you'll notice that things changed. Mind you, we did there's a couple of bugs in here and one that we need to fix. So we're going to work on that. The next update will have the fix. So generally it's okay, but if you try to reduce this to 0, it might have the same problem before that the current recipe had, and it might not reflect it reflected up here in the calorie targets. But but if you just work it the way I'm sort of working it now, you're not going to really have a problem. However, we want to fix that bug. It'll be fixed for the next update. Okay, so now the only thing that we need to do is double check it. So we're going to go back here and we're going to go to the chicken and rice recipe and we're going to balance that and we'll be able to compare it. Okay, so here it is. And you can see that over here on the left, if you take a look, it's 1079. It's the same as the other one. So here is the balance. This don't forget this is it's taking both multiple. If I switch it here to current, you see this is what's the problem here. This stays the same, and that should actually reflect off when I switch it back to current. So we're gonna do this. I want to just grab the info again just to be on the safe side. Okay, here we go. So that's a bug that we're aware of when you're switching back to the current recipe. It doesn't reflect this properly, but that'll be fixed by the next update. Okay, so here we have the protein is 468.56%, and if we go to the original recipe, you can see it's the exact same. It's 468.56. And if you look at any one of these numbers, let's look at the iron, which is 544%. We go back, we go down here to iron, it's 544%, right? Water being 74.88%, and water here is 74.88%. So you can see that here was our original recipe. We broke it up into two parts, and we balanced it by putting one of the parts into the diet tracker. You've got multiple recipes, and the diet tracker was on July the 7th, so it grabbed the information that we had put into on July the 7th. It grabbed that recipe, it grabbed the nutrient data, and it placed it into all these different graphs and aggregated it together with this current recipe. Okay, now if you have any questions, because I know this video might seem like it's a little bit complicated. Uh, Please ask questions. I'll try to answer it to your satisfaction. Thank you very much for watching.